Hey guys, welcome back to Father and Son Investing. We're going to talk about Matterport again today. The stock price has gone crazy today. Look at how that has just skyrocketed up. It's up 24% on the day. That's a little bit ridiculous. So we're going to talk about why Matterport stock is doing this, at least why I think it's happening. I also want to give you some takeaways from a conference that I watched, the Piper Sandler conference that Matterport did recently. They interviewed both the CEO and the CFO there, and so I want to give you some takeaways from that and talk about what Matterport is going to be doing in the future that is going to continue to drive their business. So let's get to it. All right, today's stock price, $27.12. I was actually shocked when I saw that. I work a job where I get off at 2:30 in the morning, so I didn't get up until close to 11 or so. And by then, the stock price had just shot right up. What was driving that? Well, there was actually no real big news on Matterport for today. So what do I think is driving it? I think it's still Meta. Meta and the Metaverse, that Facebook change to Meta, is driving this stock higher, I think. And this stock certainly is positioned well. This company is certainly positioned well to take advantage of that. In fact, some of the things from the Piper Sandler conference that I listened to illustrate just that point. So let's talk about what the take-homes were out of that Piper Sandler conference. Take-home number one, virtual tours. So the CEO emphasized that of that $230 trillion market out there, about $160 trillion of it is going to be residential real estate. And virtual tours then is going to be their bread and butter. Now, there are a lot of other companies offering virtual tour capabilities. In fact, Zillow is really working hard to develop theirs, and they may end up being the big competitor when it comes to residential 3D tours. But I kind of look at this as like Carfax. If you live in the United States, years ago, this company, Carfax, came out. Essentially, they would give you the facts about a used car that you were trying to buy. And at first, it was kind of this quaint little thing, but eventually they just kept getting more and more and more market share, such that a person shopping for a used car now just expects to be able to see the Carfax, show me the Carfax. And I think that 3D tours are going to become that standard as well. Now, Zillow, of course, offers that on their particular site, but what about all the other residential real estate sites? I think Matterport is going to be the clear winner in here. In fact, let me just show you something about some of the revenue that Matterport is generating compared to their peers. Now, this data is a little bit old enough that it says their employees are 221. We know that that's really closer to 400 now based on their third quarter conference call report. But this is illustrative of the big difference that Matterport has when it comes to their competitors. Look at the revenue, 118 million compared to all these others. Nobody's more than 5 million of the competitors listed on this site. Let's just look at their funding. Up until 2020, they had generated or received $175 million in funding. Then suddenly in 2021, they just take off. Of course, a big portion of that is their merger with Gores Holdings, that SPAC deal, which gave him about $600 million in cash. While we're talking about that cash, let's just talk about what they plan to do with that cash. Two of the things that were mentioned within the conference call that I listened to was R&D, research and development. They're going to be putting a lot of money into that. They talked about how with Apple's iPhone 12, that LiDAR sensor within there is making a big difference for them. When this capability to scan with an iPhone first came out, they were at about 2 inches of accuracy. Measuring, that's pretty good to be able to scan something with your iPhone and get it within 2 inches of accuracy. Now, with some improvements in software, they are getting that down to less than an inch in accuracy. And they, I think, intend to continue to see that get better. I wouldn't be surprised that an iPhone essentially becomes about as good as their rotating camera that costs about $2,700. One of the other things that they're doing with this cash is developing the Matterport Marketplace. Certainly marketplaces are ways that other companies can integrate in with Matterport, similar to what Salesforce does. And so they have developed this marketplace. There are already a few entities that are on the marketplace here. We'll just click on one of them, Encircle. This is a software that allows real-time field documentation and productivity tools to help restoration contractors and service providers improve cycle times, manage field teams, increase profits. So now you have a company who is coming in. Man, when I lived in Texas, I came home one day from a vacation and there was water coming out of my garage, and I thought, that's weird. My refrigerator must be leaking, because we had a freezer in the garage. Turned out it wasn't that. I got further in, and as I went to open the door to my washroom and to get into the house, this stream of water came pouring out the door. Turned out that a little tiny nut on the back of the toilet had cracked. It was plastic. It had cracked, and while we were gone, it had been leaking water for who knows how many days. We had a good 2 or 3 inches of water throughout the whole first floor of our house, so we had restoration teams coming to the house. And of course, they had to be talking to my insurance company. Well, now imagine instead that the restoration team is able to use Matterport's camera or their iPhone and now integrate it with this Encircle software and be able to speed up that process communicating with my insurance company. So there are a number of other integrations here that are now showing up on the Matterport Marketplace in terms of apps. You can also get some merchandise, like these guys will sell you a nice case for the Matterport camera so that you don't break your $2,700 camera. We've also got Matterport ADA compliant virtual tours being offered as services. So expect to see that this Matterport Marketplace will grow as they use some of this money to start integrating with other entities out there. Now, what was another take home from the conference? The CEO actually talked about stage one. That was like a platform to digitize buildings. They certainly did that with their camera. Their camera was making a lot of money before they ever started using apps for iPhones, and now, of course, recently with an Android phone. So stage one was digitizing buildings, which certainly they are doing. They just have a small share of all of those buildings so far, though, that have been digitized, the buildings in the world. So huge available market out there. But he talked about stage two, and that is digitification of the built world. And he sees that growing into the next decade. What is he talking about? Digitification of the built world. Of course, that is those digital twins and being able to use those, not just for like 3D tours, but in terms of building information management, such that once a company has scanned enough of their buildings, say a pharmacy chain, once they've scanned enough of their buildings, they now can start to take all of this data from each individual building and start to congregate that data to see how their business is doing on a more global fashion, not just that one building. And of course, as all of these buildings start to become digitized, no longer will they need, he called it boots on the ground, having personal inspectors coming out to look at buildings. Now you can start to have people from all sorts of areas within a company looking at a building at the same time, putting their input into it, and generating the best ideas to be able to improve their business. So that's all I have for you today. Again, an amazing pop on the stock price. I'm actually a little disappointed that it popped quite this fast, because I personally would like to be able to buy some more of this, but not at $27 a share. I'd really like it at $20 a share. So I'd love to see this take a dip a little bit. I didn't anticipate it would go up quite this high because of the guidance that they gave for fourth quarter. Remember that their fourth quarter guidance indicated that they were going to make money but not be growing at the same rate that they have been because of pandemic-related issues. So again, I think what's really driving the price increase now is Meta and the Metaverse. That's the only explanation I have for it at the moment. Share this information with a young person in your life. Talk about buying the dip with them. That's what I'm going to be looking for, although the dip may never make it back to $20 again. That's a little disappointing, because I think that this is a fantastic company. Until next time, enjoy your investing.